Hello and welcome back to another indie book review. And this one, I was not actually sent by the author. The author has actually been doing a giveaway of ARCs on Booksprout, which is a website I just found. So if you're desperate for ARCs and free books, I'll put the link down in the description below. But I saw this on Twitter and the premise just intrigued me too much. I had to go get an ARC and you'll find out why as we go on. So this is The Monsters of Music by Rebecca F. Kenney. This is a gender-bent retelling of the Phantom of the Opera myth. And right away I was intrigued. Now I'm not the biggest Phantom fan, but I like the idea of gender bending anything. Now this is YA fantasy, and our Phantom is a young woman named Mel who is actually a member of the Leannan side, this Irish muse essentially, wherein she is so bursting with magic in the form of music and creative arts that she literally has to find an outlet for it in the way of a protege, which is a human that they basically pour their music or whatever it is into through a kiss. So she decides that she's not going to go with an indie band startup. She wants to basically hit up this singing competition a la American Idol or The Voice that's happening in town and find someone there, make him or her protege. I guess it's mostly a him. And get him to win, have a career, and therefore have release for her music. Now, she is also our Phantom in that the right half of her face is very heavily disfigured, and I won't reveal how. It is revealed in the story, and it's super heartbreaking, as any good Phantom backstory should be. But I loved that it went full out, like, right half of her face. Like, she's more scarred than the Phantom in the movie. And she's very, very determined, and she makes plans, and I love that about her. This was not a character to whom things happened. She made decisions and she went for it. And when she goes to the auditions for the singing competition, she rigs all these things up and basically starts terrifying one of the judges by calling herself the resident poltergeist and sending him mysterious text messages. And she also discovers her protege, a young, I believe, half-Japanese boy named Kiyo. And he's very unassuming, very much a soft boy, which is great because she's very much a tsundere, and it works really well. She manages to find this magic mirror, so we have an homage to the mirror, and it makes her look pretty enough that if Kiyo sees her reflection in the mirror, instead of looking directly at her, she looks like she has a fully formed face instead of half scarred, and she takes to being his voice coach. And there's kind of this weird part where he knows her as Mel, the stagehand, and Aaron, the voice coach, and she's got to, juggle all these things, and is she developing feelings for him, and is he developing feelings for her, but is that just the Leannan side magic? There's also laws that prevent her from really being able to do much. The Leannan side are forbidden from performing for humans. They can only use their magic in the form of their protege, and Mel is really grating against that. She wants to perform herself. And I loved that she was working so hard with a plan. And was it too mopey? I mean, a little mopey. Was it too mopey about her situation? The only downside to Mel was that she came across just a little bit too much like a generic YA heroine in that at the age of 17, she seemed to have the wherewithal and the independence of a 20-something. Even though she technically had lived with her aunt and her aunt had given her startup money for this venture, she seemed so unperturbed at times with the fact that she was on her own and doing this big thing. And if you know me in my YA, I want just a little bit of feeling out of their depth. I want my protagonists to have a point where they're like, oh crap, I can't do this. And Kiyo had some moments like that. He is, I believe, 18, a year older than her, and he was the one that was like, oh crap, what am I doing? Because he's very shy and hasn't really sung in front of a lot of the people, and it was a really nice interplay between them. Now, obviously, I can't talk about this book in full without talking about the way the author intended it to be read, and that is not simply read, but read and listened to. This is a singing competition. There are a lot of references to music and very specific songs. And for the most part, you'll probably at least recognize a couple of them. Like, I think one of the ones mentioned was like Titanium by Sia. So you will recognize some of it, but there's also a playlist. And I believe the author tweeted basically that while she wants people to buy the physical book, she believes the ebook is probably the most honest rendition of the book because it has links to the songs that you're supposed to listen to while you read. And this isn't the first time I've seen this idea of the reader should listen to these songs while reading it. I've seen it in a couple other indie books. The thing is, I'm not the biggest fan of that concept, and I didn't do it here. I thought about it. I'm like, I'm going to be reviewing it. Should I, like, go full out? But the problem with it is that, A, I'm a fairly quick reader. I'm pretty sure I'm faster than the average reader. I'm not the fastest, the crazy people on BookTube that can average like 20 books a month. I'm not that good, but I read fairly fast. And in this book, I was reading a little under 2 pages a minute. So in this case, if I was supposed to be listening to this 3-minute song, but the scene that this 3-minute song was taking place in only lasted a page, I'd only get 30 seconds into the song before I was moving on to the next thing, and I still have 2.5 minutes of the song playing, and I could end up with, another song coming up that needed to be listened to, but I still had this other song going because I'd already gotten there. So it's not that conducive for my reading speed, and also it's not that conducive because I don't like listening to, like, music with words while I read, at least not words that I can understand. Like, maybe if I wanted to, listen to something in another language where my brain isn't trying to follow along the words of that song and is just focusing on the melody of it, I'll also listen to, like, maybe some classical stuff or instrumental stuff, but I don't listen to music with words, and all of this was music with words. Obviously, the characters were singing. So I pushed that idea away for a while. So if you're into that kind of thing, or you wanted to try that kind of thing, you can check out the ebook version of this when it comes out on October 15th. For me, it was just not the biggest fan of it. The other thing I mentioned before is that Mel is a little bit too much of a standard YA heroine. The other thing that I struggled with, and I don't know if this is meant to be a series. I know the other works that Rebecca has put out was a trilogy, so she might be repeating it, and I could, in theory, see where you would continue with this. Personally, I wouldn't, but I could, in theory, see. But there was one major magical mystery that was never solved, and I think you were supposed to go with the solution that Mel came up with, or, it must have been this, but it was never concrete. Essentially, there are sometimes when Mel actually does sing in front of people because she's a rebel, these strange magical things start happening, and there's no explanation for them, and it's not a standard thing for the Leannan side. So I'm not quite sure what that was supposed to be, or if that would be something that is looked in another book, or if it must be this solution that Mel came up with is supposed to be the solution. I'm not quite sure. So that was a little bit open-ended for me, but I did like that this was just a straight love letter to Phantom of the Opera without being a literal beat-for-beat retelling. Mel is not as psychopathic as the Phantom is, which is great. She's still mischievous. She does things that she probably shouldn't to, rig a competition for the one she likes to win. But she doesn't, go around hanging people that annoy her. So, in that way, she's better than the Phantom, because I am wholeheartedly against anyone that says Christine should have ended up with the Phantom. We did not listen to the same musical. So, I appreciated that. There's also a kind of Madame Jury character, if you're into that character from the musical. And I won't say who that is, because it's a little bit of a fun reveal, and I actually really liked that plot twist. We see a bit into the beleaguered judges who don't really want to be there, but their fame has already faded enough that they have to be, and how Mel's torment on them as this anonymous ghost, one in particular, is basically maybe half ruining his life. But I enjoyed it a lot. I gave this book 4 stars. It didn't necessarily hold up to the standards that I know indie YA can achieve. Like I said, I like my indie YA with some vulnerability in the characters, and this felt a little bit more of a standard YA than usual, but the premise was there. It followed through on the premise, and I had so much fun with it. It was so much fun. Now, if you are an indie author and you would like a review, please email me. I will have that email down in the description below. I will also have my review policy down there. Please check that out as well. It answers so many questions and saves so much time. And with nothing else to say, I hope you have a wonderful day and a marvelous tomorrow.